So hi everyone. Mark told me that this will be one of the exotic talks of the evening. And after watching two of the talks, I understand that this is maybe because my talk will be 100% code-free. So you will only be looking at pretty images that I did, of course. Yeah, I did this one. I didn't really ask Mark if he liked it. I guess he's happy with it because it's reproduced everywhere. I was really happy to see. It doesn't happen to me that I get to do print design or designs that are getting printed on T-shirts. And it was great to come in today and see all the stuff wearing these T-shirts. And I'm really looking forward to see you all wearing this. I hope those T-shirts don't become like every other conference T-shirt, sleeping T-shirt, right? So I hope you use it. So I hope you guys use it. And if you do take a picture and tag me. I will be so happy to make a post on my website about this and make other letters really jealous. So yeah, I'm really happy about this design, especially considering the circumstances in which it was made. I had a baby a few weeks ago. It's already 2 months almost. And 5 days before my due date, I was working, you know, on commissions. That's the privilege that freelancers have. They work until last minute. And I get an email from Mark asking if I could do the design for this conference. And I said yes, but if I don't get back to you in 2 or 3 days, then I might be at the hospital having my child, so go ahead and search for plan B. This didn't happen until later, so I could do the design and deliver it on time. And then my child came, and time flew, and I realized that I had to come here to talk. So this is me preparing this talk. I know. So my new working space is a bit busier now. I have a few projects going on, and one of them has a very demanding client. Yeah, and yeah, I have to multitask a lot now. But yeah, it's so pretty. My husband saw me putting this slide on the presentation, and he reminded me that I once said that I find really bad when people put pictures of babies or cats on presentations. So now I find okay that they put pictures of babies. Cats are still unacceptable. So yeah, this is me preparing this presentation. So welcome everyone to Berlin. By the way, all the imagery you will see is done by me. So sometimes it will be related to what I say, sometimes it won't. But you will have to sort of switch between what I say and what you're seeing. So Berlin. I wasn't born here. I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina. But I'm one of these people with a big career turn, and Berlin has a lot to do with that. I actually became a letterer at the same time I moved to Berlin. And for me, becoming a letterer meant to actually introduce myself as a letterer. Like, hi, my name is Martina, I'm a letterer. And to clean up my website of all the things that I did and that I didn't want to do anymore. So those were two radical things that kick off my career. To actually introduce myself as what I am, or what I wanted to become at that time, and to show the work that I wanted to get more from. One thing you should know about Berlin, for those who don't live here, is that it's one of the cities with most designers working with type and typography in the world. There is a lot of events about typography here. There is meetings where people only speak about type, fonts, and typography. there is a conference about the topic. There is a vibrant community of designers that work and make a living of this. And there's even a museum of letters, the Buchsal Museum. I strongly recommend you to go there if you're staying a few days in town. So yeah, typography and type design are very serious subjects in this city. And yeah, and when I moved here, actually, this was a big fear for me because here typography is taken so serious. Topics as readability, legibility, usability, functionality, and clean shapes are essential here. And these are all things that my work doesn't necessarily pursue. My work is rather the opposite than this. It's explosive, it's colorful, it's pretty pictures, actually. I work with letter shapes, but this is not something I necessarily pursue. I don't pursue functionality or readability at times. So I was pretty, I was pretty intimidated by this community here in Berlin. Also, my work, since it is how it is, sometimes the line between art and design is a bit blurry. So a lot of times, the sort of work I do depends a lot on whether that's a personal work or a commission or a commercial commission, and whether the client that is asking for that particular piece is asking me to show my voice through it or to express a certain thing about, you know, a product or a book or a certain article. So, yeah, I came to Berlin, and, you know, the community actually really welcomed me, and they were really looking forward to see how I did things, and yeah, and actually the way the community is here triggered my work in an unexpected way. My work became more colorful, more expressive, yeah, more complex. A colleague of mine calls it, something's wrong with my microphone? Okay. A colleague of mine calls it contemporary Baroque because it's layer over layer of information. So over letters you have decorative elements, texture, and the pieces get really complex. So I told you, 100% code-free, pretty pictures. Yeah, so in these 5 years, I've been running my studio for 5 years already in custom typography and lettering. And I'm a one-woman studio, and I have been doing so much. This is a piece I did that is hanging on my studio wall to sort of explain my colleagues and clients what my work is about. So as I was telling you, telling stories, creating an atmosphere, yeah, creating a mood with letter shapes, right? So another good thing about Berlin is that we are surrounded by pieces of lettering here. If you're not living in town, I recommend you to walk around looking at you know, store facades. You will still find a lot of gems in the city. And in the past, doing lettering had a lot to do with handwork. Most of these pieces were made on paper, probably, and then executed on metal or wood or neon. But I bet the designers of these signs were working the same way we work nowadays with typography or with lettering. I can imagine the designer of this store facade was, you know, aiming to make this store look friendly and inviting, and therefore he used these chubby, rounded shapes, and he chose a proper color scheme to convey the idea that the store is selling flowers and plants. Or this guy wanted to make this coffee house look modern and cool at that time, right? So I call this one Wurst lettering, sausage lettering, which pretty much fits the concept of the store. So I think the designer of this one really nailed it. So yeah, the guys doing this probably work mainly by hand, right? And nowadays, yeah, we work a lot with computers. But I actually think that the digital tools that we have nowadays don't necessarily eliminate the other tools, the analog tools. So in a way, our set of tools have become bigger. And this is great from our times, that we can actually choose the tools we can work better with. We don't necessarily need to use digital tools all the time. My work is mainly digital. All the pictures you saw are created on the computer. However, I work a lot by hand. So I sketch a lot. That's more or less how I will start a lettering piece. I would start with a very rough sketch and then, move step by step into a more refined result. I use my sketches, and I use sketches to work, and I also show it to my clients. So there is a moment of the sketching process where I scan this sketch and I send it to the client. Perhaps I will send it along with a color scheme. And this is the moment where we will discuss about changes or things, or whether we like the composition, or whether we think the color scheme doesn't work. Or so in the sketch, in the sketching phase is where where the client and I find a middle point, or we agree whether that's the direction works or not, and I can move on to the digital drawing. I use sketches a lot because drawing letters is an incredibly slow-moving job. And as I said, I run a one-woman studio, so when I started working with lettering full-time, I realized that I had to improve my working flow. I had to be able to first do multiple commissions at the same time, and second, be able to work with agencies and publishing houses, which they usually have very quick turnaround. No? So yeah, and especially when I have this, contemporary Baroque style. Besides drawing letter shapes, I also have to deal with decorative elements and texture, and this all sums up into a very time-consuming job. So it happens to me that I come from work sometimes, and my husband asks me, "Hey, how was it? What did you do today?" And sometimes I really don't know what to answer, because perhaps I spend the whole day drawing a word, or drawing an N and an T, and not even uppercase letters, but lowercase letters. So it's really a very time-consuming job. So I had to come up with a technique where I could, work fast. This is a commission I did for the Washington Post, a newspaper, and they had, I had to deliver this artwork in 2 days, and I gladly had this time shift, which is with the US, which gave me 8 extra hours. So I was delivering the job at 2 a.m. in the morning, and they were getting it on time at 6 p.m. in US. So a lot of designers stopped working with sketches. How many of you work with sketches here? Do you? Okay, a lot. So how many of you shows it to your clients? Oh God. Okay, I really understand why you don't, and but I also think that our clients can actually get used to to work with sketches. Sometimes we underestimate our clients. And my clients got used to work with sketches, and this is something they know upfront when we start a commission. But this is an example commission to tell you why I'm rooting so much for sketching. This is I got this commission from the US magazine 5280, and they needed to do a cover for a page opener for a catalog they do. So they sent me the brief, they sent me the text, and it had a pretty quick turnaround. So I did a sketch, I sent it to them the next day, and I got an email from the art director, and he said, like, we love it. We love the direction, but this is not the text we want to have. Actually, the text we want to have are those 3 words over there. So I had drawn over, in lettering world, the more words is the more work. So I have drawn more than 10 words, and actually the job was about 3 words. So I could say, well, I'm sorry, that was my mistake, and 3 hours later deliver a sketch with the text they wanted to have. We could discuss about it, and I could deliver the final artwork in time. So this working with sketches and working fast saved my relationship with the client, saved the job, saved my time. So yeah, long live sketching. And although I love working with sketching, I think working with sketches is very good. I spent 95% of my time with computers, and a lot of that time on social networks, and I bet I'm not the only one in this room. And I invest a lot of time on putting my work, on social networks, and I actually own the place that I gained in lettering and typography. I own it in a big portion to the social networks. I did a project a while ago that was taking place online and also on the social networks, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, that was called Lettering versus Calligraphy. Perhaps some of you know it, perhaps some don't, so I will explain shortly what it was about. I put this together with a colleague of mine, the Italian calligrapher Giuseppe Salerno. So he was acting as the calligrapher, I was acting as the letterer, and what we basically did here is to do an online competition. So we would draw the same letter under the same keyboard, and we will execute it. I will execute it with the lettering on the left, and he will execute it with calligraphy on the right. And we will upload it, and the people could vote on the website. So the whole concept of it was to actually compare both techniques, right? Many times, calligraphy and lettering are, are seen as the same thing. And although they might look similar at times, they actually have very different processes. Calligraphy is essentially writing, and lettering is essentially drawing. And the process, the way of doing these two things has an impact on the process and therefore on the result. But we have all this very conceptual idea behind it. But actually, I think the thing that made the trick of the project, or the thing that made the project successful, was this little thing under the under the image, where the people could vote and could see us fall down publicly, and they could actually, they were exercising their right to be mean with this little button. So we had over 2,000 hits on our website per day, and people were going crazy voting for either of us. So these are some of the things we produced at that time. So we were experimenting a lot, I have to say. We were trying a lot of different materials, yeah, a lot of different styles. And it was a very exciting project for us. And in a way, what was really good from this is that we could prove others and ourselves what we could do with the things, with lettering, me with lettering and him with calligraphy. The wild pea. So yeah, and we created a great library of letters. We draw over 200 letters each. I draw, and he wrote 200 letters. And this is a useful resource that, you know, keep inspiring people and myself. I have to admit that sometimes when starting a commission, I go online and I check on the library of letters, and I say, okay, I will do something with this style, or yeah, I pick up on that to do my work. So I put a lot of effort on, you know, maintaining this balance between personal projects or side projects, if you like to call it like this, and commercial work. I think commercial work is essential for designers and developers. It's just, you know, it's the only way to actually have an impact on real life. But when doing work for a client, many times the clients will come after something that they saw on your website, they saw in your portfolio. And this is also good. I mean, you can actually reaffirm something you do, and you can take it to the next level. But at the same time, you can easily become a one-trick pony, where you know, repeat the same thing over and over. So that's why I think maintaining this balance between personal projects and or doing personal projects creates new artwork that the clients will come after. So this is another project of mine. It's called Letter Collections. It's also online. And the goal is much easier than the other one, is to produce 100 postcards that I will send around to colleagues and friends, and yeah. And the idea is basically to produce a piece of work and send it around and put it online so other people can actually send the postcard digitally to friends or yeah, family. So, you know, the most important thing about this project is actually that I put a piece of my work out there, which is yeah, the ultimate goal of my work. Because I believe that if you don't put your work out there, then you cannot kick off this domino effect of creativity, where one idea leads to the other, and the other, and the other, right? So whatever you're doing that stays, you know, in a folder in your computer and doesn't see the light, then doesn't really have an impact on real life. So I love to put my work out there, but I have to admit that everything is out there. So under the hashtag lettering, you will find a lot of different things. I bet a lot of you are on Instagram, so I wanted to do something with you now live. Just grab your phones, go to Instagram, open your Instagram. Follow me on this one. Are you following? If you don't have Instagram, then you can do it with, yeah, the person sitting next to you. So you can go and search for the hashtag lettering. I would do that too. Tags. Oh, internet is slow. Okay, I'm there. Are you there? It's almost 2 million posts under the hashtag lettering. So normally, half of what you will find here under the hashtag lettering is calligraphy. So it's, as I said, essentially writing. Some examples here are, well, there's a girl over there writing. There's a video on the right hand of a girl writing, and that's under the hashtag lettering. So most of what you will find is lettering. And a big part also of that is street art. And of course, all these things under the same stream, under the hashtag lettering, you have all these things. And it's really hard to tell if you don't have a trained eye. It's really hard to tell good from bad. It's really hard to, and I understand it. You don't necessarily have, and not everyone necessarily have to have a trained eye in typography. But it's really hard to say what's good and what's bad, what's good lettering, what's bad lettering. So I was thinking, when I was preparing this presentation, I was thinking, why do people come to conferences, right? Besides meeting colleagues and friends and drinking beer, but you also come to conferences to see how other people do work, and to also think about the way you do work yourself. And I think conferences are good places to set standards. Where Brad just did, he just set some standards for creating a web for an enterprise. So I thought this is something I want you to take away from my talk, besides looking at pretty images, but that you go home and you have some criteria at least to look at lettering and be able to judge or be able to filter from good and bad. So I have 5 points. One of them is consistency. And this relates to having a few design decisions that are consistently applied on a piece. So this is a cover I did for New Statesman magazine in the UK. The topic was clearly Israel and the conflict in Israel. And I wasn't necessarily, I didn't have to necessarily say my opinion about the topic, but to let the reader know that this issue is about Israel. So I used a contemporary take on Israeli mosaics, and this idea of carpets, and I use all these elements consistently across all the letter shapes. I also created new letter shapes from brush strokes from Hebrew calligraphy, and this decision is applied on all the letter shapes, right? So all the elements in this, there's a few design decisions that are, that are working on each of the letter shapes in this piece. This is another piece I did for the Empire magazine, for the Jameson Empire Awards. That's a little bit like the Oscars, but in UK. So the idea was, or the brief was, to do a sort of 20s inspired piece, like sort of the Great Gatsby. So I used these elongated shapes for all the letter shapes. And if you look closely, although the letter shapes or the different styles are pretty different from each other, they all share this weird proportion to it. And of course, a color scheme that works on the whole piece. No? So after 5 years of working here in Germany, I said that Berlin was very important to kick off my career, but actually in the last 5 years I've been only working for, or mainly working for US, United Kingdom, Australia, Spain. I hardly got any commission from Germany. And I'm really happy about this, not only because it's a football magazine that is asking a woman to design their cover and main article, that's groundbreaking, but also because I feel now that lettering is starting to be a part of the design mix of a lot of enterprises and media and magazines. So I'm celebrating this right now. So yeah, they invited me to design this cover. So there is a design decision that has to do with the production. I created those images on in digital, and I printed it on Risoprint. It's a printing technique and creates this sort of effect on the type. And although the inner illustrations are not exactly as the cover, they are related to each other. They are sharing the same criteria and design decisions. I love this spread. I would just leave it there for a while for appreciation. I love how the image works, and I think everything sits where it has to sit. So yeah, cheers to that. Cheers to Germany starting to use lettering in their design work. The second criteria for judging good from bad lettering is custom. Lettering has to be done for a certain application that wouldn't be the same without it. So this is a spread for Cosmopolitan Magazine. So I come from a football magazine to Cosmopolitan Magazine. And yeah, and the pictures don't make sense without the lettering, and the other way around as well. So it is tailored for this spread. And they are meant to be, sort of. So this is another spread I made for another German client, the Spiegel Magazine. This number was about Gelassenheit, that's serenity. I think the translation in English it would be something like serenity. And the idea was to, the word Gelassenheit was originated in the medieval times, so the idea was to create an imagery that sort of pick up on that. But as well, the spread and the headline, everything works together, and they don't really make sense if they are not, if they're not on the same page. So lettering can also be custom for a space. This is a piece I did quite a long time ago for the offices of Etsy here in Berlin. They were opening their first offices, and yeah, they wanted to celebrate it, so I did a sort of confetti, serpentine-inspired lettering, and I executed it on their, I look so young, I executed it on their offices, and this confetti run across the floor and the ceiling, so it really changed the space in a way. So the space is, the space is now, yeah, it looks different. And the lettering was custom for that space and that occasion, right? So another very important criteria is detail. This is what I think makes lettering a very distinctive tool for design. Lettering has a great advantage, which is normally you're working with a couple of letters or with a couple of words. So you can dedicate a fair amount of time to work on the details. This doesn't happen to type designers, for instance, where they have to, type designers create fonts, and they have to create an alphabet that works on all possible combinations. So the more detail you put on, you cannot actually work, or it's very hard to work with this amount of detail, because the project will get just endless if you have to do all this detail across the whole alphabet, and punctuation marks and accents. And so this is a commission I did for also a US magazine, Variety, where I had to do this limited set of figures, and I could dedicate a fair amount of time to add detail to all of them, and there's no copy-paste anywhere, so it really took a long time. I really dedicated a long time to each one of them. This is a card I did for my studio last year to send to colleagues and clients, and it was a very detailed work of figuring out what makes decorative design into a stencil, because what I did is to stencil the card in the envelopes in which the card was sent out. So, and I did around 200, and I sprayed every one of them. So the idea of making it happen was actually, I was making it happen. So yeah, there's a fair amount of detail into, figuring out what makes this lettering hold together to create a stencil. And this was laser cut later on cardboard, right? So a story. Is the piece that you're working on conveying or telling the story you want to tell? I love designing book covers. I've done a couple of, a few of them in the last years. This one I did for HarperCollins publishing house. And it's a thriller that takes place in Mexico for young teenagers. What I love about good book covers is that, you have to sort of sum up whatever the writer tells in 300 pages into one imagery, and also that the sales depend a lot on you. But in this case, the story I wanted to tell was not necessarily scary, but intriguing enough for young teenagers. That's another cover I did for Walker Books in the UK. And it's a story about three sisters in the Victorian time, so it's a pretty simple, it was a pretty simple concept, and I focus on placing the story in a certain time, in a certain time in the Victorian time. And ultimately, and most important, good letter shapes. A lettering piece should have right, consistent, well-crafted letter shapes. They should be excellent. So bottom line, excellent letter shapes done applying a consistent design decision applied consistently to the design that is custom for a certain application with a fair amount of detail, telling the story you want to tell. Those are the 5 things you need to have to create a good lettering. It sounds so easy, right? But I wanted to share these concepts with you because I think that in a way, our challenge as designers, as professionals in whatever field we work in, is to be able to filter good things out of the stream of things that are out there, right? And for this, we need to define standards. And that's why you go to a workshop, that's why you study, that's why you read a book, that's why you come to conferences. So I hope you get something of this talk, which is some standards to identify good lettering from bad lettering. If you didn't, then come ask me. I will be around. I promise not to show too many baby pictures. So thank you.